I've got my hands on the new Power and Control Savi's Workshop lightsaber from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. How do the new Power and Control lightsaber parts compare to the old one? Are these new sabers heavier or lighter? And do the new pieces line up better than the old ones? We are talking Galaxy's Edge Savi's Workshop today, so don't go anywhere, guys. Yeah. Hey all you Star Wars fans out there, thank you for clicking on my video. This is Finding the Force, where I cover all things Star Wars, but especially lightsabers. As always, I'll be your host, Obi-Dad Kenobi, but my friends call me ODK. If you haven't already, please don't hesitate. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. By the way, guys, do you like the lighting back here? I tried to make it a little bit warmer colors to look like a Savi's Workshop a little bit. And it's been a very long time, but finally we are returning to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge to talk about all the new scrap metal that they have at Savi's Workshop. They completely refreshed all 4 of their categories: protection and defense, justice, power and control, and elemental nature. And there's some really unique styles they've added to all the scrap metal. We're going to talk about the pricing, the experience, the investment you're making, and we're going to look at all the new designs of the different styles. Just a few days ago, I posted the entire Savi's Workshop experience that has taken place this year in 2023. If you want to, I'll put a link to that at the very end of the video for you guys so you can watch it right afterwards. All this content, I have one person to thank, and that's my good buddy Scott, Disneyland Nurse on Instagram. Go check out his channel. He loves Disneyland, but also he's not afraid to call him out on all their BS and some of the goofy choices that they're making. He's not like one of those boring social media accounts who likes everything and wants to buy everything. And so thank you so much, Scott, for not only filming the whole experience for me, but also bringing back this Power and Control lightsaber that I know my son Landon's going to freak out about when I show it to him. Gosh, it's been a really long time, but my son and I have actually done Savi's Workshop twice. We did it like the first, 3 to 6 months Galaxy's Edge was open. These are our sabers that we built here, and we also did it again to acquire the other 2 categories of lightsabers that you can get: protection and defense, and elemental nature. A lot of you guys think that we live really close to the parks, but we're just like all of you guys. It takes an airport with parking, a plane flight, and a hotel to make it to a Disney park and enjoy it. We don't live that close or within any kind of driving distance that you'd want to take part of. By the way, do you guys like my shirt? I saw this, the glorious porgs in the moonlight. It just had me cracking up, man, so I wanted to rock it for this video today. So I am really excited about all the scrap metal they completely overhauled in Galaxy's Edge, but I'm not excited about the price. I looked back at my receipt from when Galaxy's Edge opened a few years ago, and the Savi's Workshop experience, which includes your saber, a blade, and the carrying bag, cost $199 and tax was about $15. So, but now for this experience, I paid Scott to go through it for me. $249 and tax was $19, going up to $270. $50 difference. And that's a big difference. That's a 25% price increase from a few years ago. But let me know in the comments if you guys think Disney's being greedy, or is there just inflation, and with the pandemic, the cost of shipping things overseas, is that getting more expensive, and is that affecting the price? Let me know down below. So if it's $270 for one lightsaber, and each category has 2 different styles of emitters and grips and everything, that's gonna be $540 per category. That's gonna be $2,200 if you wanted all the new scrap metal from all the lightsabers. Dang. So instead, I thought we would get one that I think my son would totally geek out over. And we're gonna take a look at all the other designs of the scrap metal from photos. So after watching Scott's video, it totally reminded me of how powerful the experience is, and I wanted to remind all of you viewers out there who haven't got to experience it for yourself. It's really easy to put a price tag on this and say, that's not really worth it. There are lightsabers that you can get that are brighter and louder. This may not be the best lightsaber for the money. However, it is probably one of the coolest theme park souvenirs ever invented. And so rewatching Scott's video, I was totally taken back to my memory with my son being there in Galaxy's Edge, seeing stormtroopers, drinking blue milk. You're completely immersed in a Star Wars themed land, and then you pick out the pieces and assemble your own lightsaber. You hear Yoda's voice, And it's a whole really kind of magical experience that I really loved enjoying with my son. There's no other experience like that. There's no other way you could obtain a lightsaber and get even close to the amount of magic and the special experience that comes with the Savi's workshop. There's nothing magical about opening a cardboard box and having bubble wrap fly everywhere. You know, consider that when you're looking at the price for the whole package. You know, you're really kind of making an investment when you get a Savi's workshop lightsaber because you have a kyber crystal in here. Now this lightsaber can change 6 colors of all like red, green, blue, purple, white, yellow. So when you buy this, you kind of unlock all the potential of the kyber crystals and also buy the holocrons so you can hear the voices on the different crystals. So it's really like a large kind of investment that you want to like think about if you want to go down that path or not, because it can get really pricey. Let's talk about the design of the new power and control lightsaber that I know my son's gonna freak out over. So the first question I want to answer is that no, these parts are not heavier and they're not really lighter. They're all within like a fraction of a pound of each other. This is 2.5 pounds. They weigh the same. I don't know why my brain wants to think the old one weighs more, but this one is really dense, you guys. There's been no changes at all to the chassis since they've opened the park. But come take a close look at this design that we picked out. There we go. Super cool and dark. I can't think of any character sabers that are themed like this. Maybe a little bit of a Dooku with the spikes, but my son loved the spikes on the emitter and the spikes on the pommel. Power and control came with a new button. Here's the new and updated pin for power and control. Looks fantastic. I think it's a really cool design. The other parts that we didn't choose were really cool because it looked like they had wires running down. The other activation switch and the other grip went together where the wires would continue. So there's 2 things I love about these new Savi's workshop parts. One is the logo on the back of the switches. The other is, if you can notice, you have a little bit of wiggle room, but it was very easy to get everything to line up so it looks like a symmetrical lightsaber. I'll show you an example of the other one that doesn't. Drove me nuts. I've heard from multiple sources that their sabers line up very well compared to the old ones, which were all over the place. You had to use packing tape and things to get the pieces to line up right. But the grip feels good. And up on the upper grip here, there's this open window with all these internal components here in the upper grip. Looks good, maybe not great, but looks cool. Got the D-ring down here at the pommel. Sounds good. Sounds like it should have good audio ventilation there. Just for fun, I'll show you guys the older version that we have. Let's compare the 2 power and control lightsabers. My son built this one back in the first year of it being open. Now this switch feels really strong, and this one we actually had to replace because getting flimsy and it was activating by itself too much. So I'm really glad that they really improved those. Although this eye in the back though is really neat that it will light up when the crystal's lit up. So these 2 sabers, the ones that we first assembled on our first Savi's workshop experience, I'm really happy we picked these parts because none of the grips, although the emitter does line up really well with the activation switch on the power and control Justice. I'm really happy it does not really have any front to the grips or the emitter. So that way I wasn't really too peeved if the parts weren't lining up until I got protection and defense. It really kind of drove me nuts that the emitter doesn't really line up with the upper grip, which really doesn't line up with the lower grip that much. And it just really bugged me. They're complementing each other and they go really well together. So it always bugged me that they weren't really, if you screwed it on tightly, they didn't line up. So you'd have to sit at home with some packing tape and try to tighten it where you want it to. And it's just too much work. You just want to have fun with it, you know? The fact that all these pieces line up a lot better is a huge win. Good job, guys, over at Disney for designing these a little bit better. Okay, guys, let's look at the pieces from the other categories of Savi's Workshop lightsabers. Okay, so these here are the parts of Peace and Justice, which was my favorite original build that I used. But to be honest, I'm not too crazy about these parts. Although I do see some really cool influences of the parts, strongly from Plo Koon's lightsaber. You can tell by the emitter and the rings looks just like the emitter of his saber, and also the pommel. So some strong Plo Koon influences here. That grip up in the upper right-hand corner completely reminds me of the Cal Kestis lightsaber. So if you're a huge fan of Jedi Fallen Order, you'd probably really dig that one of those grips for your saber that you wanted to build. I do really like the other emitter with the open windows to it. That's a really neat look that I appreciate. I'm not sure if that doesn't remind me of any character's saber, but I like the look of it. And also, finally, really cool activation switch with the card. That's a really cool touch, but it looks like it's not the same activation switch that has the symbol for peace and justice. So that's kind of a bummer, but I really like that card. I think a lot of you will too. Protection and defense got a huge overhaul. Look at these pieces. Man, looks like medieval times in here, you guys. The gold, the bronze, the silver. That one emitter looks crazy. Kind of reminds me of Loki's horns from Marvel. Really unique emitter though. I've never seen an emitter on a saber that looks like that before. I like the pommel with the D-ring on at the bottom. A lot of gold. And the upper grips in the corners. I mean, looks like, you know, knight in shining armor. Very medieval. And again, I love so much that all of it lines up symmetrical. I didn't maybe know I had any kind of OCD until I started enjoying these lightsabers, because I just want my saber to look like there's a front and a back to it, you know? One of the grips there on the right looks like the symbol of Savi's workshop with that really long spike running down the center. And I think on the other grip we have some Arabish. I haven't translated that, but feel free to leave me a comment. And then finally, this is the other category we almost went with because it's so unique. This is elemental nature, and I see some inspiration to the parts here. You can see that one large horn from the bantha. That's very unique. And also, what else jumps out at me is the dewback skin. That's what I'm assuming it is. That green reptilian, very textured grip with that looks like teeth in that leather wrap. Very cool look to it. I'm kind of tempted to get one of those. I love that elemental nature logo again on the back of the switch. But this thing looks like it came right off of Kashyyyk. Like that really cool Wookiee Jedi Padawan. That was really awesome seeing him get his crystal in the Clone Wars, one of my favorite episodes. On the other grip, looks very realistic and textured really well. I think they did just as good of a job, if not better. And there's a few of those other parts that look like it's beautifully grained, textured wood. Very unique style of saber that you can choose from now at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Here's some tips from Obi-Dad Kenobi, okay? Don't worry about belt clips because I don't recommend for any reason to wear this. Not a good idea. It's not going to be comfortable. You're not going to be comfortable. Just don't do it. Bring a fanny pack, a backpack, something else, anything else. Don't worry about D-rings. Reminder that the Savi's workshop comes with a 32-inch lightsaber blade. I tend to be using these more often lately because the 36-inch just almost feels a little bit excessive, although super fun with the Luke Skywalker lightsaber and maybe the Qui-Gon Jinn. 32-inch is a really good average length blade. I recommend this one. Oh, also something to keep in mind, guys, that if you decide to pick any parts, if you pick any Savi's workshop parts that are abnormally large or shaped funny, they likely won't fit comfortably in the bag. In order to get this into the bag and stuff, to travel back with it, you had to unscrew this. Just something to keep in mind. Also, carrying this as a carry-on on the airplane back home is totally fine. I actually had 4 of these because I brought 2 sabers and we made 2 at the park. So I had 4 of them all taped together and they fit right in the overhead bin in the back. Easy peasy. Okay, before I go, really quick audio test. All right, guys, really quick audio test. Even though the chassis haven't changed and the sound's gonna be different with all the different pummels, but why not? New power and control. And the original power and control. Yep. Sound identical, guys. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Leave a comment if you're a Savi's Workshop fanatic, or if you just really enjoyed your trip to the parks. Let me know down in the comments, share your stories, and make sure to be safe out there. And have an awesome Star Wars day. See you next time, guys.